The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
The Paranormal View. The Paranormal View. The Paranormal View. Time now for the Paranormal View. The Paranormal View on the Para X Radio Network with your host, Henry Foister, Craig Rupp, and Jeffrey Gould. The Paranormal View.
Welcome everybody to the Paranormal View right here on the Para X Radio Network. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, no matter if you're here in the chat room with us or from around the world. We appreciate each and every one being here tonight. Tonight we got a great show. Craig is over at the Red Mill Museum with the Ghost Soldiers and Dave and Scott. So we're going to actually be broadcasting live from there. Dave will be having the investigation live over on Para X Vision a little bit later on. So we want to welcome everybody from there also for being here. And I want to let you know we have Craig with us and we have Jeffrey with us. Both are here.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hey, hey.
And we should have a great show tonight because we're going to be talking to a lot of people. And also we got some EVPs we're going to try and play that they got last night. So that should really be a good job. And from what I understand, it's raining over at the Red Mill.
Yeah, it's pouring.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Well, is it thundering and lightning or just raining?
It was earlier, but now it's just like a drizzle.
Well, maybe it'll enhance your investigation a little bit later tonight.
Always does, Henry.
And I would assume that is Pat.
That is Pat.
Well,
hello, Henry.
Well, glad to have you on, Pat. How are you doing?
Thank you, sir. I'm doing very well. We're at a haunted location with a full moon and rain coming down. So the smile on Craig Rupp's face is just from ear to ear.
And this is Pat McCormick and with the Ghost Soldiers. And a real great guy. Had a marvelous time when we went down to Kentucky. So that was really fun. I want to go back there too sometime.
Oh yeah, next May we're planning on being there. Doug's here also from Ghost Soldiers. So say hello to Doug, Henry.
Well, hello, Doug.
Hi, Henry. How you doing?
I'm doing good. The first question I asked Doug a while ago was, is he directing traffic?
Actually, not tonight. I got the night off.
All right. I want to let everybody know that during the show, if you have questions, you can private chat Craig, Jeffrey, or myself with them to all these wonderful guests that we're going to be having on and talking with. And we'll get them questions right over to them and get them answered. And if you are listening from somewhere around the world other than right here on Para X, you can join us here by coming over to para-x.com. Click on the live chat button at the top of the page, and you'll be in with all these wonderful people. And you'll also be able to ask questions by private chatting myself, Craig, or Jeff. So with that, you guys are at the Red Mill, and I think one of the first things that we should do is find out a little bit about the history of the Red Mill.
I'll leave that up to Pat.
Okay, well, the history of the Red Mill Museum, this place goes back to the 17th century. One of the first settlers here were the Mulligan brothers. Pat and Mike came over from Ireland. They actually started a quarry on this side of the river, and eventually the land was bought later on and converted into a mill. Now, this mill has seen many shapes over the years. It's red now, Henry, but it's never been red in its history. It was black at one time when it was a graphite mill, and it was also white when it was a talc mill. But right now it is red, and it is known as the most photographed mill in the Western Hemisphere.
Wow.
Oh, this place is beautiful. Pat and Doug brought me down here, and I was just walking around here. I cannot wait till it gets dark and we can get started.
Yeah, there's 10 buildings on the site. So you've got multiple locations. The mill itself, you could spend a whole night just doing that. However, there are some fantastic other buildings on here, and one of those we want to mention is the actual tenant house, or the grocery store as we call it, because it's set up as an old-time grocery store, Henry, right out of the past, including the small little post office boxes at the end, where Craig felt really at home.
I would love that job. It's a 4x4 space. That's my kind of post office.
Well, now, how many different rooms are in the mill itself?
There's 5 stories. There's 5 stories, probably about from 5 to 10 rooms, would you say, Bruce?
Yeah, the mill is huge. It's the interior of the mill is just gigantic, Henry, and the things inside of there are all handmade. All of the wheels, the cogs, all of the connections. They have so many artifacts here. They have about 40,000 artifacts in storage inside the mill in one spot, because there's just too many. There's not enough places to put them out. So the mill is gigantic. Never mind, you've got the tenant house, you've got the schoolhouse, an 1860 one-room schoolhouse, which looks like you just stepped back in time. Also, there's a carriage shed that was the first building ever donated to the property. And that was where, when you went to church, you parked your carriages under there in severe weather. On top of that, there's General Daniel Morgan's cabin.
I was just going to ask you about that, Pat, because that place blew me away.
Oh, man. This is, after all these buildings, you get to the end of this thing, and there's still more to see. General Daniel Morgan's birthplace was Huntington County, not far from here. When he was young, he moved to Pennsylvania briefly, then Virginia. Now, for those folks out there listening who don't know who General Daniel Morgan is, this is the man the movie The Patriot is based on. His actual deeds are the things that you watch Mel Gibson doing in The Patriot. With a few exceptions, almost all of it is exactly what happened and what this guy was able to do. He was a Revolutionary War hero who did what's called the most successful double envelopment in military history at a battle called the Cowpens in South Carolina. This is what you see at the end of the movie.
Wow.
So he was the swamp fox.
He was, and he actually fought against the man known as Bannister Tarleton for the British. That man that you see in the movie, who
Jason Isaacs.
That was a real character. Bannister Tarleton was given the command by the British Army to hunt this man down, Daniel Morgan, and kill him on sight because of everything he had done. He was the man who came up with the tactics of shooting the British officers first. He also had a company of riflemen called Morgan's Riflemen. This man is so famous, 7 states have counties named after Morgan, Morgan County. His cousin was Henry Morgan, the pirate. So, you're talking, this is a real character out of time.
Oh, and I was going to make a Henry Morgan joke, too. Wow.
Well,
Go right ahead.
It's too late now. It's actually true, so it wouldn't be as funny. I was just going to I don't know how it was going to be worded, but I was trying to come up with something.
Now,
I probably had something to do with Captain Morgan, did it?
Well, yeah, the rum and all that.
Morgan.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, now,
Hey, what you drink on your own time, Jeff, is your business.
Uh-oh. Now, with the Red Mill, I thought I was getting some feedback there. With the Red Mill Museum, I'm sure that they do allow in ghost investigations. What is some of the reported hauntings that go on there? Some of the activity?
Well, one of the things that has been reported by many people here are number one's just loud sounds. Bruce Pearson, one of the gentlemen who's helping us out today from the board of directors, him and his son were actually here at one point and heard a loud bang, louder than you would ever imagine. Something like a large, thick, wooden door being dropped from like 12 feet. So, interestingly enough, there were some people walking around the property today who had the same thing happen. In the schoolhouse, they actually heard a loud banging sound just this afternoon. So you've got noises right off the bat. However, also, there's been a report of a little girl seen around the mill. And we actually made contact with this little girl the last time we were here, Henry, and she was terrific. She actually took us from the mill to the general store, and then from the general store to the one-room schoolhouse, where she used the dowsing rods to not only point out her desk, but a picture on the wall that she was in. And we were able to identify an actual photo of this girl.
Wow, now that's interesting.
We were in the school right before.
Yeah, right before.
Right before, and we talked to this little girl, and who is it? Her dad? Somebody.
Oh, you're
came
talking
and
about
told us.
Rich. Rich's little girl was actually on the investigation.
Anyway,
with us.
she heard a loud bang in there right after we were in there, so I'm excited to get out.
The history on that place that you've just told everybody is very unique to learn all about the guy that Mel Gibson played or portrayed in the movie. That I had no clue.
That's not half of it, Henry. Let me tell you about another character here that we actually met last time. There was a gentleman called Peg Leg Van Camp. Now, the Van Camps actually lived in the tenant house or the grocery store for a while, and Peg Leg was a grave digger. There's a shack here where he actually stayed in, and I dropped a EVP recorder in there the last time. I must have had about 40 EVPs on that one alone. This guy is so crazy. He used to dig the graves. He was a grave digger. He would get drunk, lay down in the grave, fall asleep, and in the morning, people would see him getting up out of the grave like he was rising from the dead. So he actually gave us a full name. When we asked, "What's your name?" we got Peg Leg Van Camp. I believe that's one of the EVPs I sent you.
Yes, I've got that one. We will be playing it a little bit later also.
Yep. So yeah, Henry, the Daniel Morgan thing, the schoolhouse with all its memories, the general store with the
blacksmith shop.
The blacksmith shop. There's a blacksmith shop here where we actually got an EVP on our video camera of all things last time. So yeah, this is paranormal funland at its best.
What building? What building were you guys in where you got the face recognition on the camera?
The Quarry office building, which is just outside the building we're in here now, is a small one-room building, and it has a lot of old stuff in there. There's an old typewriter, there's a scale, an old phone. So I went in and dropped my H1 Zoom microphone in there and left the room. And on the way out, I said, "Hey, if anybody wants to talk to us, go ahead and make the typewriter sound, make some kind of sound." So we do. I actually get typewriter sounds with the 2 clicks, one down and one back up. So when Doug and I went back to film there the following weekend, we were talking about what happened. And in the corner of the window, about child height, outside the window, Doug gets a face recognition on our camera, which means it's picking up a face that we can't see. So he tells me about it. As I turn to look out the window, he gets it on the window behind me, like somebody ran around to the other window, like, ha, 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 they're looking out that one. So, and this face recognition doesn't happen that often. It's only happened in a few places, one of which was Burlington Prison in a hallway where no faces were. So it rarely comes up on our cameras.
Well, now, with that piece of video, do you have that up on your site that people can go see?
Actually, that video, we're still processing that video from those shoots. We haven't put that together yet, but we will have that together eventually for everyone to take a look at. And there's so much evidence from our first investigation that it's just taken so long to get through it all. We must have had 18 hours of video each, so 36 hours between me and Doug. So that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's not like on TV where they do it in 5 minutes. That's what people
No,
don't understand.
They actually got 10 or 15 people helping them out to get it
Right,
to that point
yeah.
in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it takes weeks sometimes to go through. And then sometimes you'll find stuff later on, as you know, Craig, where
yeah.
you've already gone through the video and you didn't see something. You go through and you find something else.
That's because you nod off and
Oh, yeah.
you think you rewind it back far enough, but
So we will have a lot of that coming up. We have a bunch of new shows we're working on for the fall. The Morrison Masonic Lodge, obviously, is going to be a complete mini-series because we have so much evidence. We've got some good stuff from the Burlington Prison, the Red Mill Museum, and some other sites. So everybody should be watching for sometime around September, October. We'll break out some new shows.
Wow. And I suppose that one of the new ones is going to be Elizabethtown.
Oh, yes, Henry. Starring Henry Foister as the rebel. Yeah, you were wearing my rebel coat that night. He had
yes.
oh, really?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was.
That was the first time he used the dowsing rods as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Henry, when we put that coat on you, he was cold. So I said, here you go, Henry. I've got my rebel jacket. And, that worked for him. But I think that's really what happened when we walked in. The girl saw that and said, oh, I know that coat. That's, that's familiar to her. And she started responding to you with those dowsing rods, Henry.
Yeah, I know. I really enjoyed being able to do that because it was the first time that I'd used those and got a response. So I had fun. It was raining there. It was cold. And we was doing the show from outside under a tent. And I neglected to take a jacket or anything. I was freezing to death.
Yeah, good thing I had that jacket then, Henry.
Kind of like tonight without a tent.
Yeah.
We're in a really nice building.
Exactly. Yeah, Henry. I don't know. You probably, we shouldn't tell you this, but we're inside a building, even though it's raining here. We're not in a tent.
Yeah. Lucky you.
But no, Henry, this place is great. The Red Mill Museum is unbelievable as far as the activity is so incredible here. Like I said, it is a very historic place. So you've got 300 years of history going on, maybe 400 at this point almost. And people who come here are guaranteed, if you're going to do a paranormal investigation, contact Bruce Pearson, get your date set. You will not be disappointed. The mill needs some money. We need to raise money for the mill to keep this and preserve it for the future. So it's an excellent place to come if you're out there looking for a site. Call Bruce Pearson at the Red Mill Museum or email them at theredmillmuseum.org.
Yeah, and it's a sad thing, Henry, because as people know, they're cutting the funding to a lot of historical sites, one of them being here in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
So donations are most appreciated, as you know.
Roughly, when someone goes there to do an investigation, what's the number of people that usually goes at one time?
Well, I believe they're trying to keep it down to about 10 so that it's, it's doable. It's not overwhelming. They don't have too many people running around here. You could easily bring more people in with the number of buildings, but they are trying to keep it manageable so that it's not for super groups. They're not looking to be Eastern State.
No, yeah,
this
10,
is
10. I agree is a
10.
really good number.
10's a good number, and 10 or less. If you have less, they'll work with you too. So they're looking for people who are serious. If you want to go on the group tour, go to Eastern State.
Right.
You want to go to a real place that you want to haunt, check out the hauntings here, investigate it, get some serious evidence. This is the kind of place you want to come to.
Absolutely.
Well, now, whoa, I heard that. Do they allow
What'd you hear, Henry?
What? Yeah. What'd you hear?
feedback?
Oh. I thought you were going to tell us you heard a voice or something. You
Yeah,
was all
really.
excited.
You start hearing "get out, get out." Then
Nah. I just heard the feedback. But if they go there, is all the buildings open to the investigation or just the mill itself?
No, sir. All the buildings are open. The breaker obviously is one of the buildings that's not open just for safety reasons.
Right.
But all of the other buildings are completely open, and you will have access to the entire grounds.
You will definitely not be disappointed.
You will not be disappointed. It's like walking back into time. It really is, and it's just a great spot. It's right on the water here. You can walk across the bridge into the small town of Clinton, the historic town of Clinton. Get some great shots of the mill. You can take kayaks out on the water. It's really a wonderful spot.
And Henry, I'd just like to add real quick, for all those people that were giving me a hard time, including Pat last week or on Sunday's show about not being able to find this place, I did find it. I am here, and
Yeah, Henry, but he had to use his GPS.
It don't matter. I found it.
Yogi Bear was waiting for him outside with a fork.
It is the only giant red mill in town, so I was hoping he would find it, Henry.
I'm sure that after I threw the plug in last week, that wasn't hard for him to do.
No, it wasn't, Henry. Even Craig can find it. So if you're looking for the Red Mill Museum, it's so easy, even Craig Rupp can find it.
That is so wrong. All right, Henry, you and Jeff are on your own. I'm going to go out one around a race for a while. I'm not going to sit here and take this.
Hey, he's turning my microphone off. What are you doing, Craig?
Well, now, Craig gets to go out and investigate with you guys later on tonight. Are you filming this one also?
Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes, we are. We film everything just because if something happens, you want to be able to document the evidence. So with that, we started carrying cameras years ago just for that reason, whether we show it or not. But yes, we will actually make this into a show, and you'll get to see Craig Rupp going around the mill.
At the same time, you'll be able to watch the investigation live as we bring it to you as well.
That's right. This will be live, and then we will also air it on Ghost Soldiers at a future date.
What time's it going to? Like 2?
Yeah, well, last time we went till we ran out of batteries.
Okay, well, that's good.
Like 3 in the morning.
Yeah. So, the Bluegrass concert is going to end around 10 o'clock. It'll take us a while to get some stuff together, but by about 11 o'clock or so, we'll be starting out. And once you get going in a place like this, as Craig knows, you get so wrapped up in when you're getting evidence that you lose track of time. It's going to be 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning before we know it.
Yeah.
I will be heading, Henry, to the school and the grocery store.
That's the first place you're going to be hitting?
Uh-oh.
I hope so. I just had some really good vibes about the places, so I'd love to start in there.
Those are two of the biggies, and we may wind up going there first because the concert had to move inside to the mill, so they're actually playing the bluegrass music over in the mill now. But both those sites, Henry, on our first visit, were completely active. We had so much going on in both of those spots. Literally, we had to end the investigation because all of the batteries died. And, it was 3 o'clock in the morning and people were wiped out from the energy.
Wow.
So you're having a good night when that happens.
Oh, yeah. Just make sure you get Dave out there and put a recorder in his hand.
Oh, we're going to get Dave and Scott out with us and make them actually do some work and find some evidence. And we'll film them and any bloopers we will send right to you, Henry.
They're over playing with the band right now.
Yes, they are.
That's right. Yeah, they're not even here, Henry. They're
Dave's
over with
on
the band.
fiddle, and where's Scott? Scott's on a harmonica.
Oh, is that right? Oh.
Yeah.
I think Dave is doing some kind of clog dancing, it looks like.
Now,
They were drinking Kool-Aid earlier.
well, you said that you're going to be taking the band out with you guys to investigate?
Yes, that's right. Travis Wetzel, one of the premier bluegrass musicians from Nashville, is here. I was talking to them downstairs a little while ago, and he actually lives in a haunted house. So this is very normal to him. But yeah, we're going to take the bluegrass musicians along, and they're kind enough to come here and play music for us and entertain us. So we're going to return the favor and take them on an investigation and see if we can't show them some real evidence.
Great. So who's some of the other people that you have there besides the band that's going to be doing investigating?
Well, we got myself, we got Pat, we got Craig. We also have 3 different bands, as you know, Pat, that are going to be here playing tonight. So after we get done probably Pat will take the first band on the tour of the mill, and then I'll probably wrap it up with the second one or third one. Bruce Pearson is also going to be able to join us for the hunt. So Rich and his family, I was just downstairs talking to him, and we took his daughter on the investigation the last time.
That's right, Olivia. She's 14, and she was the one who actually, had the spirit respond to her with the dowsing rods in the general store. She was critical to us making contact with that little girl. So she's back. So Rich, and I guess one of his older daughters is also here. And, Henry, having women and children along on a hunt in a safe environment like this is a good idea.
Oh, sure.
Because you can connect with them easier. Women connect with other women easier than they connect with men. It's just a simple fact.
Right.
That's why we have Cinemax. Oh, wait.
That's something else, Jeff.
Jeff, what are you doing at 3 a.m. anyway?
Well,
no comment.
Never mind.
At my 3 a.m, you guys are waking up at about 6 or 7 a.m. because I'm in the West Coast.
That's right.
That's still no excuse, Jeff.
So, the place there with all the history and everything, how many people actually has come there and told stories of the paranormal things that's happened to them?
I think just about everybody who's come in here has had something happen to them. Obviously, this was on an episode of Ghost Hunters. And since then, they've had numerous groups in here. And they continue to get hard evidence, Henry. They continue to have... we had a little boy who stopped in who told me he saw a little girl over by the mill. And, you can dismiss that if you want, but he was serious. He wasn't making it up. He maybe an 8 or 9-year-old boy, and he saw the little girl. This is before we made contact or knew that she was here. So that's pretty cool when the stories add up and they keep, verifying that there's a little girl here, or there's a guy with a peg leg walking around the general store, which we captured on our cameras and on our EVPs. So... there's so much history. So many families came through here. John Hunt was the first man to own the mill, but in those days you lived at the mill. Your family lived at the mill. That was your job. That's your life. After that, you had families like the Taylors, the Brays, the Scotts. There's so many families came through here and made this their home. Why wouldn't they be coming back? They're here.
Essentially, they're all just milling around.
Yes, right. They were all just milling around, Jeff.
We just had a typical Doug's going to find out. The whole building just shook.
Really?
Did you feel that?
Yeah.
Lightning or thunder?
We don't know.
It's happened several different times here.
That's the sound I'm talking about. People have experienced these loud sounds, and we're next to a quarry where they used to blast. There's actually a dynamite shack is one of the buildings, and we're not sure what that was, but the sounds have been heard here by various people at different times. So again, that's verifying, evidence caught by somebody else, and it just keeps you coming back to the place. And go ahead.
I was going to say, how far inland is Red Mill?
Well, we're not that far from the border of Pennsylvania, actually. If you're it's pretty close to the border of Pennsylvania. I think it's like 16 miles from the border, something like that.
We're 16 miles from the Pennsylvania border, and we're right in that little niche. We're probably about 25, 30 miles from New York City from the Hudson River. So,
Wow.
Yeah, honestly, driving here today, I do not see a welcome to New Jersey sign.
Well, that's because they don't want to welcome you,
we're on
Craig.
a
Yeah,
budget.
really. I was going to say.
We're on
I'm
a
from
budget,
there.
Craig. Cut us some slack.
What is this? What is it? Abused crate
No,
night?
no, not just you. Jersey just doesn't welcome
okay,
anyone.
You
Oh, is
literally
that
like
the way it
this
is?
Jersey.
Oh.
We got the turnpike covered from north to south. You want us to cover everything in between?
I got a
So, oh, you're in Clinton, aren't you?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm getting an idea where
You
you're.
know that area, Jeff?
I know Clifton more than I know Clinton. You're down by Plainfield, Edison. Yeah, you're almost to almost to New Brunswick, almost.
We're northeast of New Brunswick.
Yeah, I'm seeing now. So yeah, you're dead south, like Parsippany. I grew up in Morris and Essex counties.
Okay,
In
I grew
Compton
up.
Plains, Montclair, and Verona. You know those areas?
Yes, I do. I actually grew up in Neptune, New Jersey. I'm now formerly living in Toms River, New Jersey. So this is my home
that's-
state.
Yeah, that's way south of where I was. That's down on the shore, Tom's River, right?
Yes, yeah.
Now, this town was named after popular New York Governor DeWitt Clinton at the turn of the century. Has nothing to do with Bill.
Oh, nothing at all, huh?
Nothing at all.
Because I knew about Clinton, New Jersey, long before that Bill Clinton ever came into the radar. So yeah, I know about that.
I have a question here from the chat room, and it's
All right.
It's from eCrypt Carrie, and she wanted to know that you just got done saying that there's hard evidence. Is there anywhere that's posted that you might be able to see?
Absolutely. You can go to theghostsoldiers.com and check out our Red Mill evidence page. There was so much evidence that not all of it's there, but we posted as many and as many of the best EVPs as we could. And some of these EVPs are absolutely amazing because it's an immediate intelligent response. When Bruce says, "Can you tell us your name? Are there any Van Camps here?" And you actually hear, "We all are," in a very whispery but class A. So yeah, go to the site, check it out.
A dash or anything? GhostSoldiers.com? Because I'm coming up with a want this
it's-
domain page.
Theghostsoldiers.com.
Oh, you snuck a the without saying it.
That's right.
That's probably why I could never find your website on a search, too.
Ah,
Actually, no, it pops up pretty high, but somebody grabbed GhostSoldiers.com, and I'm not paying $10,000
Right.
for the darn,
to get it. Just
to get
change-
that name.
Yeah, just change a
we-
word and you're okay.
Yeah, we've got theghostsoldiers.com, ghostsoldiersparanormal.com, and if you want to, the old one is ghostsoldiers.tv. Any of those will get you in there.
All right. Now, we're coming up, I guess, real close to break time. So,
Woohoo! Break time,
break
yeah.
yeah, we're going to go ahead and take a quick little break. If anybody has questions, you can go ahead and private chat Craig, Jeffrey, or myself, and we'll get the questions right over to these guys because all this is real interesting, and I still have a couple more here. So I think we'll just jump out for about 8-10 minutes, something like that, and give everybody a little breather. So Craig, why don't you take us out on a quick little break
Henry,
here.
there's a promo going. There's a promo playing.
Oh, there is. Where?
Oh, you can't hear it?
No.
It's Pat McCormick talking about the Ghost Soldiers.
That's on the website. If you went to our
Yeah, if you went to the
website, that'll-
Happens. All right.
That's you, not
I
me.
hate when that happens.
We'll leave the paranormal light on.
I hate websites that do that.
Hey, while Jeff gets his websites under control, you're listening to the Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. We will be right back.
Don't go away. The Paranormal View will be right back.
welcome back, everybody, to the Paranormal View right here on the Para X Radio Network. Thanks again for everybody being here tonight. And if you're not with us here in the chat room, please come on over to para-x.com, click on the live chat button at the top of the page, and you'll be in with all these wonderful people, and you'll be able to interact with us and ask questions of the guests by private chatting them to either Craig, Jeffrey, or myself. I do want to thank all the listeners from around the world tonight. We do have people listening tonight from the U.S., the U.K., Canada, Finland, and Australia. A great group of people. So we're reaching the universe tonight.
Or at least the planet. So.
At least planet, huh? So, what time are you guys actually going to get started at investigating?
Hopefully around 10, Henry. 10-ish, I guess.
Okay.
I think the band's playing till 10.
Until
10:30.
Okay.
I'd say more like 10:30.
And exactly where...
I have... What's that?
Where was it you was going to go to first?
I'd like to go hit the school and the grocery store because they just really drew me in when Doug and Pat took me on the tour. So I think we're going to get some great stuff out of there.
Okay. Well, now I know that they do investigations there. At what point did they first start noticing that they had hauntings in all those places?
Well, I'll tell you, I have Bruce Pearson. He's on the
Board of Trustees.
Board of Trustees with me sitting here. So I'll direct that question to him. Bruce?
Thanks for having me on. Thank you again for broadcasting tonight. And certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. In fact, the museum has been in existence over 40 years. And although we don't have any documentation of when it was operating as a mill or the quarries, there have been a regular series of reports over that 40-year period. Dramatically so. That was one of the reasons when I was approached with my background in broadcast documentaries to look into it when I became a board member 6 or 7 years ago. I started to accumulate anecdotal stories that were repetitive and started to add up as a regular stream of similar reports from visitors, from volunteers, from folks that were on the staff, and so a pattern of repeated documentary evidence, even though it was anecdotal, started to come forth. So to answer your question, for 30 or 40 years, there have been reports of seeing people on the fourth floor are reenactors. Well, we don't have reenactors. Stories of seeing people in the windows wringing their hands, listening to clear and prominent footsteps on the second floor of the tenant house, and these type of things. And they've been from people who are visitors to the mill from all over the country, and they've been separated by 5 or 6 months. And up until we really started looking into this, there was no mention anywhere on the grounds, on placards or anything, or discussion that this facility may have been haunted. So it wasn't like we placed that scenario in people's minds.
Right. I mean, 10 years ago, if you had a haunted building, you didn't talk about it because it's not like it is today. I mean, people want their houses known to be haunted just to raise the value of it.
Yeah. Back then, it's not a real healthy thing to do.
I was going to say, Karen, Ghost Soldiers in the chat room says while you're at the store, can you pick her up some bread, milk, and some chicken while you're there?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, and some chocolate, dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate? Okay. No, not a problem, Karen. Got you covered.
I think you would be surprised if you saw the remedies and concoctions that when that was a general store 100 years ago, what they were selling is ointments and creams and salves and some of the other standard fare that was part of pretty creepy stuff. It absolutely is.
Absolutely. I love it. I mean it's ghost hunting and history.
It absolutely is.
They're my two favorite things.
Well, now,
it was a pleasure.
do they operate the mill as far as making anything anymore, or is it just for people to be able to come and visit it?
No, most of the equipment, to answer your question, has been removed. The mill wheel and the main planetary gear is still in there. One of the things that we would like to do somewhere down the road is to re-energize some of the equipment and some of the pulleys and get it operational again, so people can see what it looks like in operation, how these belt-driven pieces of machinery worked, get an idea of the sounds and what was involved in this very dangerous and huge machine that was run off this big water wheel. So no, nothing's operational other than several gears that are still hooked to the actual operating water wheel at this point.
Now, is it open during the week and people can just come and stroll through the grounds and visit the place? Does it cost anything for them to do that?
Yes, it is, and I should point out that we are a private nonprofit. We all folks that aren't involved in the museum as a volunteer or staff member, whatever. Sometimes we draw the assumption that museums, as we go in around the country, are funded by the state, federal government, or local government. We're a nonprofit, private 501c3, which means a private organization that maintains the mill under nonprofit status. So to answer your question, yes, we're open during the week. Our hours are posted on our website. We would encourage people to take a look at the website, theredmill.org, all one word. And yes, it's a 10-acre property, and it's really very picturesque. It sits alongside, of course, the South Branch of the Raritan River. There are 10 historic buildings on the grounds. Our hours are posted, and we are open weekends and during the week. I believe we're closed on Mondays at this point, and we are trying to extend the operational season through later into the fall and through the Christmas holiday season. It costs, I think we're at $8. It's very reasonable. We want more people to take advantage of it rather than not being able to afford it with a family. And so there's discounts for senior citizens and children, of course.
It is well worth a visit.
Well, now, do you have like a souvenir store or little place there for souvenirs?
Yes, and we've done a lot of work in making that more interesting, carrying better products and more relevant. We have historical goods, children's toys that would have existed in the 1800s that we actually have around 3,000 or 4,000 school tours with children, elementary and middle school children through the mill every school season. And we have historic books that handle everything from the Revolutionary period right up through the turn of the last century. We have documents, pictures of the mill. So it's as well as we have some T-shirts about the haunted mill and that handle the paranormal aspect of it too. So it's a pretty.
I was going to ask you, Bruce, real quick. I was just in the gift shop for just a second. I didn't get to see the whole spiel of the place, but is there any books with the history of the hauntings in there?
Not yet. We are working on that. We do have a number of DVDs from the investigations from paranormal groups that have come in and that have that background to do. We'll produce an hour documentary, so we have some of the DVDs there. We're working on compiling all the evidence on a DVD and in book form so that we build a real body of scientific evidence to the extent that we can make it scientific of the EVPs, of the the photos that have been taken, the video that's been taken, the anecdotal evidence. So we are really trying to document that as clearly and as closely as possible. Whether it's anecdotal or an EVP, it still adds another brick in that wall of saying there's something here, and it builds a body of evidence. So we're working on that.
But even for those of you out there to listen, I mean, it's just a beautiful place to come. Bring your family. It's just an escape.
It really is an amazing setting, and many times I live about half a mile away. I'll come down here late in the afternoon, early evening on a summer night, and just sit here by the river. We have park benches by the river, and just Just
it's
relax.
beautiful.
It's awesome.
Watch-
It really is.
canoeing and-
It's a very picturesque place. Please, if you come, bring your camera, because you won't find a more picturesque place. And it's really interesting because there's a stone mill on the other side of the river, and so this is a unique setting, having the two mills. As a matter of fact, early on, when just a little bit of history, when the summer. The river level was low in the summer. The mills used to share the water. In other words, the red mill would operate 2 days, and then the stone mill would get the water power and operate 2 or 3 days, so that they, neither one of them was without water, but because there wasn't a water flow level strong enough to carry both mills in operation. One of the other neat things about this place is early in the 1900s, we still have our dynamo in place where this mill generated electricity. It was one of the first places with AC electricity in the country.
Out here? Oh,
No, it's hanging in the water under the water wheel. It's still there,
okay,
the original
okay.
dynamo, and actually it's several tons, and it's caused some structural problems. We've had to do major emergency repairs on it because the weight of that thing hanging in there. It would be and I'm not speaking for the board, but I'd love to get a modern dynamo in there and generate the power we need once again from that water passing underneath us. And that's separate and apart from the big water wheel that ran all the machinery. That's hanging just in a free flow sluiceway in there. So you could definitely use that water still to generate hydroelectric energy, and that would be very cool. We'd love to do that.
Yeah, that would be.
So, it's an amazing place on many levels. You talk about the general store down there. That wasn't originally. That was a 2-family tenant house, and we got the contents. We were given the contents of a general store here in the county, and we felt that it was so unique to see that in its absolute original state that's why we set that up as a general store.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Henry, you walk in there, it's like going back to what? Little House on the Prairie.
It's like a movie set.
It's amazing. Yeah, a movie set. It's just
We-
incredible.
In the corner of it, we have the actual, and it's tiny, it's a cubicle, the actual post office cubicle from Lebanon, which is a town 3 or 4 miles from here, with the little boxes and the steel grate with the little slide through underneath, and a stamp machine that still charges 2 cents on it for a stamp. And we used to go there wasn't rural delivery, early on in the 1900s, so you had to go. I guess there was, but very limited. But you'd go down to the post office, and they, open up your box, or you had a combination, and lick your stamps and see if any mail came in. And this was a big social event, and it wasn't junk mail every day you threw in the trash. So.
Yeah, I work for the post office.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know all about junk mail.
All right, I won't say anything more.
Now, Pat was telling me one of these buildings out here actually was moved here by truck. Was that
Yes,
the schoolhouse?
yes, the schoolhouse.
I mean, that's amazing too, Henry. That's just
The schoolhouse, what's neat about that is you will never find a more authentic, complete one-room schoolhouse. It was Little House on the Prairie. It existed in Franklin Township, I believe, and was operational till the 1920s. There's pictures. The dunce hat is there, the chalkboards, the picture of George Washington on the wall, the potbelly stove is not the original one, I don't think, but the desks are all there, the pointer's there, the little glass case that they had a couple, skulls from squirrels and stuff to discuss natural history and biology. Pictures of the children in front of the school from
saw that.
it's really very creepy.
The girls with the I think it was an R.
Yeah.
Were they the old, like the cheerleader?
I would imagine it had
That's
to
what I
be something to
assumed,
do
but
with
yeah,
that.
I mean, it's just
It's fascinating, and some of the EVPs relate to the rules of conduct for not only the children but for the teachers, and how single teachers could only court one night of the week, and it's just bizarre stuff. But that was moved, to answer your question, that was moved in 1974 on a trailer to this site from where it was located about 5 miles west of here, and it was in pretty rough shape. But down to the school bell that you can still ring, the original glass in the windows, the wide plank flooring, the plaster walls. It is a wonderful piece of history for children today to go into an air-conditioned classroom with computers and video screens and stuff, and to see how children with one book recited and wrote on the board in cursive writing to learn how to write and stuff, because the tiny little desk with the inkwell in it and so forth. And we've had, since we've opened that up for investigation, man, that has really been an amazing hotspot for gathering evidence. I would have never thought it would have been as prolific as it is.
I'm looking forward to get back in there.
I hope it's raining. I hope you have a good night tonight. If anything's going to happen, we're between, a limestone quarry, a river, and it's raining, and and it's a full bloody moon. I mean, how much better can you do than that?
You got it all going. Now,
I'm telling you, all the cards are aligned properly tonight.
When you guys took over the mill, roughly when was it, and what kind of shape was it in?
That's an interesting story. 5 local prominent businessmen banded together. The mill at that time was being used by the Clinton Water Department to store, I think, salt for the roads and a couple of pieces of machinery. It was in absolutely, as you can imagine, pathetic condition. They bought it. This was over 40 years ago. I guess we're coming up on maybe 50 years. They called them the Red Mill 5. And in one of our galleries, there's pictures of them, tells about their background. They were prominent people in the community who had the foresight to say, we're going to buy this place. And, it's been a rough road acquiring the buildings, putting it together as a museum. We do not get, and I just want to stress this, we do not get sustaining funding from state, federal, local government. We do apply for grants, and of course, if there are grants from those sources, we try to get them. But it's extremely hard to keep 200-year-old buildings maintained properly so they don't fall down on themselves, plus the operating capital for heat and electric and all the other things, insurance that you have to do. I'll give you an example. About a year or so ago, we were required to put fire suppression equipment in the mill, and that was, I believe, around $165,000. That's a lot of people at $8 a piece. We had to put a new roof on the mill, and it had to be historically correct with fire retardant cedar shakes, and that was, I believe, between $50,000 and $60,000. The mill's ready for a paint job now. The tenant house needs to have the roof replaced. We have basically a fungus farm, ferns growing on the roof because it's that old, and things have to be maintained. So it is very tough to stay ahead of it, especially when people don't have a lot of discretionary money. We're all in trouble economically in this country and have been for a year or two now. So we respect that it's not a lot of extra money to go around. With the exception of, guys like Rich Reiner on our board who is swimming, and I'm just saying that because he's sitting here and I'm trying to tease him. So.
Now,
I guess if you need some manual labor, Craig knows how to get there now.
Oh.
Well.
Just saying.
What, really?
Well, you're there, so I guess you found it.
I did find it, and I'll find it again. I'm definitely coming back, whether it be paranormal or not, because this place is just, I'd love to show it off to people.
Now, how current is the photos that are on the redmill.org site? Because the one, the sort of like a slanted view is kind of red, but looking from across the river, it looks kind of pink.
Well, you know what? We're about 8 or 10 years into that paint job. It's real close to being the poster child for cure for breast cancer. It is getting close to being the pink mill. It's been the white mill in the past. It's been when they were processing limestone for talc for Procter & Gamble. It was the black mill for a period of time when they were processing graphite, and the whole town was turning black from the dust from it. And the red mill is slowly turning into the pink mill thanks to ultraviolet rays. So we're looking in the next year or so. If you have any listeners out there in the wide world that want to donate some paint and some labor, we'd love to have them slap another coat of red on there, because it's you're right, it's getting a little pink, especially on the sunward side of it.
Now, when you guys took over the mill, how many other outbuildings was on the site?
Well, I think the bill. Let me just run down the buildings that have moved to the site. The carriage sheds, which were brought from the two major churches in town, were brought into the site. The schoolhouse, of course, was brought onto the site, and Daniel Morgan's reproduction cabin, which is really fascinating, was constructed as part of the bicentennial, accurately with materials and construction techniques that were absolutely period correct in 1976. Other than that, all the other buildings, the quarry office, the crusher building, the tenant house, of course, the dynamite shed, and the mill itself were all existing buildings on the grounds.
Now, are you looking to add some other old buildings to the site?
You know, I don't think that we would ever oppose that. I think that we have at least matured to the level as a community, as a state, as a nation, to have some respect for old buildings rather than letting them fall down or bulldoze them down. And so it's been my observation that many buildings are kept intact where they stand, rather than moving them to the site. I don't think out of hand we would ever disqualify or negatively react to someone wanting to bring a building here if it could be done feasibly, if there was a need to do it. There actually are a couple historic buildings in the area. A house that dates back to the early 1700s that there's been some discussion on what they're going to do with it. Whether they approach us with it or not, I don't know. But you can imagine that's a monumental fiscal responsibility, and as well as the logistics of trying to do that.
Oh, so, yeah. Having to get it moved there and then fix it up to where it's in good enough shape for people to be able to see it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So, when you guys first started redoing this, and then you found out that there was paranormal activity there, were you just having people come in to check it out, or were you trying to set it up then to have groups come in and check it out?
Well, let me explain the process. And it was interesting, and it was a very measured approach on it. We didn't run into it headlong. When I became a member, and this has really been a team effort, and I need to say that. But when I came on the board 5 or 6 years ago, I guess it was, or something of that nature, as I said, I had other board members and staff people saying, "Listen, you do documentaries. This place is haunted. Why don't you do a documentary?" And with all due respect, you learn to say, well, it's not quite that easy. It's just, you don't turn the switch on and it pops out the other end like a Pop-Tart. So,
that's true.
I listened to the stories and I evaluated as I would with any idea for a documentary program. And I started to, and not in a documented way, but just keeping track of them in my own mind. The stories, the anecdotal stories, what they said, how they said them, the credibility of the people, the reliability of the report. And to be honest with you, after a year or so, I had heard enough that made me say, there's got to be something here, because these continuing reports of a similar nature wouldn't happen over a long period of time. So from that, I went back to the board and said, now look, here's the situation. I think there's something here worthy of
Mm-hmm.
investigation. But I'm very concerned that this does not become a sideshow, that it has to be, because it's very easy to let things run away. And so I had asked the board if they would agree with the following premise. I said, look, let's make sure that whatever we do is in keeping with the mission statement. This is a museum first and foremost. That secondly, that we truly try to focus on gathering evidence in as scientific a fashion as we can with the technology we have today. That we accept the public awareness that it brings, and we try to work with the public in a respectful fashion. If you're willing to do that, I'm willing to make contacts with the people I know in the industry and see if we can get somebody to do something. if that in fact takes place and you get on a national show, things are going to be different around here. But I think that's good, because I think one of the things we note being on the board, and I think Rich would agree with this, is, people have strayed away in the last generation from going to visit museums to a great extent. I mean, children are more apt to spend some time with the video game or the television, and these are all not bad things, but I don't think you see an interest, because there's so many other things competing for their time, if for no other reason. So if our feeling, or my feeling certainly was, if we could get more people interested and through the doors to see this place, inevitably some of the actual history, some of the awareness of what people in the past went through and lived like would rub off, and that's a good thing. Whether the paranormal brings them in the door, or whether, exactly. But they come in here and they wouldn't have come. And that's truly borne out to be the case. So we actually were approached, Bruce Tango came down and did a site survey with me. And lo and behold, we did an episode in April of 2008 with Ghost Hunters. And it was very, well received by the folks here in the community and the state. And from there on out, it's been a weekly request by paranormal groups to come in and do investigations. And we're very selective on who we let in. And by the same token, we're very mindful of fact I've been professionally doing investigations and in unexplained phenomena since the 70s, when nobody was interested in this stuff. Right. I've been very impressed by the quality, the level, the integrity, the education, and the willingness to invest their own time and money by virtually every one of these groups that have approached us. And that's been one of the most interesting things for me from a professional standpoint, the level and the character of the people that are doing this, that are very serious, are very interested in learning, and are not here to screw around. They invest a lot of money, they invest a lot of time, and they're looking, by and large, whether they enjoy it or not, to raise the bar on in finding out stuff that we really don't understand. So that's really been very, very gratifying to me. And one of the reasons why I've been willing to stay with it and to keep promoting the mill, because I think it's really on a very high level that the investigations take place. And look at what you guys are doing here tonight. I mean, this is unheard of in many other avocations that people are involved in. So.
No, I agree. You were telling us downstairs earlier that you had your own experience. You want to tell us about that?
Absolutely. And, I have not had a wealth of experiences, and maybe it's the guy behind the camera, who always misses out on the party. But I had two experiences here. One was my son, who actually works in television and was hired freelance on that Ghost Hunters episode and the one at the proprietary house. When they said they were going to come up and do an investigation, I said, I've never done EVP per se. I mean, I worked on other stuff. I said, let's go down there and try that. Actually, I had done some of it, but it was on handheld recording devices. It wasn't on solid state. And there's crosstalk issues and all that RF stuff. I've done, broadcast engineering. Also, I have a first-class FCC license, so I have some understanding of the technology behind it. So we went down here one Saturday in late March that year in 2008, and we were sitting. It was Sunday. It was clear. There was no wind, and I didn't even have a digital handheld recording device. I just brought my laptop down. I was going record on the hard drive on Audacity and put a good quality mic in there and a set of headsets. And we're sitting down there setting this all up in the gift shop, and there was a bang so loud it literally sounded like somebody literally set a gun off next to your head. And I mean, it was extremely loud. It was solid sounding. It sounded, the only thing I could equate it to is if you took a solid core door, as I told you, lifted it up 6 feet and dropped it on a concrete floor. It was that loud, and it was that close. And I must have jumped off the chair, and my son said, Dad, what was that? What happened? I said, I don't know, but whatever it was, it should be easy to find. One of the staff people was in the office, which is 30 feet away, in her office working. For some reason, she was in there that day. I don't even recall why she was here. And she came walking over. She goes, did you hear that? What was that noise? I said, did you hear that bang? She said, yeah, I was sitting in my office. It almost made me fall off my chair. We could find nothing throughout the mill. Now, that proves nothing in and of itself. There were 3 of us that observed it, so it has a little bit more credibility than an individual episode. My most recent episode was we actually were doing some interviews for a History Channel documentary on the way the mind perceives things and how we force things into preconceived patterns and so forth. Or that was the premise that was explained by the producers. They wanted to interview us about here and how paranormal fit into that, the way the mind works and how our environment shapes what we are. We finished the interview, and it was a Sunday afternoon. It was a day like now it's turned in. It was rainy. There's nobody in town. The town really shuts down on Sundays. So I was locking up. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And on the second floor, I'm walking by, and I get this creepy, moaning man's voice so loud that it went on for about 4 seconds, and when it stopped, you could hear the sound echoing through the building. And I have to tell you, it absolutely creeped me out. I mean, it was, there was, and I thought it was just, you know, maybe one of the guys I know, one of the police officers snuck in and was yanking my chain, or maybe Rich came in, or one of the other guys. And so I yelled, all right, who's screwing around in here? Okay, you got me. Not a sound. As it turns out, we had a rather well recepted new exhibit on psychiatric care and the atrocious nature of psychiatric care in the 1800s and 1900s. We had stuff from Greystone Hospital, which was like every other one of these abusive, disgusting places where people were housed. We had some of the artifacts. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. I was standing right next to that. But I have to tell you, in as much as that's an anecdotal story, and I can't reproduce it, I didn't record it. It's worth everything you're paying for. I know it happened. And, I've had the people on the other side of the microphone and the camera, pilots telling me when they've witnessed UFOs, look, I got 30,000 hours in the air. I don't care if you believe me or not. I know what I saw. I know it was there. It needs to be said, and if you don't believe me, fine. So be it. How can you believe something that bizarre when you have no way to equate it to our everyday existence and what we perceive? It did happen. It was creepy. It was scary. It was almost sad how mournful this thing sounded, and it was loud. It was not an echo. It wasn't, I was perceived a car coming up the road or something out on the street. So that did happen to me, but there's no way of documenting things like that. And as I've told people, I taught a documentary production class. I said, listen, the best we can strive for, rather than you have the smoking gun or the UFO on the White House lawn and it's sitting there smoldering, is you have to build a wall of evidence, and each brick has its own place. And we go, our gold standard, I think, and how I was taught was the judicial system standard. Is there enough evidence there that's beyond a reasonable doubt that there's not something going on? And so anecdotal evidence has its place as much as audio evidence and video evidence and still photography and so on and so forth, whether it's, thermal cameras or EVPs or EMF detectors, and you could go on through so if you build a wall with 30 pieces of disparate information and they all add to this point in the same direction, maybe there's something there. Even a reasonable person can say, well, it's kind of adding up like there might be something happening. And so I think that there's a place for anecdotal evidence, but you certainly can't rely on that any more than any other piece in and of itself. So.
Now, on your site, you was talking about having a CD that had EVPs and stuff like that from groups that's investigated there. Do you have some of those EVPs on your website?
We haven't, and it's just been my, failure that I haven't really had the time to put that together properly. And one of the things, we have a lot of evidence. New Jersey Rope from down in South Jersey has put the stuff, given us evidence that we're allowed to put on there. New Jersey Paranormal Research, Mark Johnson and his people have provided stuff. We're finishing up in a documentary with the Chris and Brian from Scared, and they've all offered this information freely. I want to make sure it's properly annotated, that they get credit for it, that it's put in the right format, and so it's just been a logistics matter of putting it together. We do have a growing body of all kinds of evidence that I would really like to get out there and share with whoever would like to see it. I mean, it does no good to being locked up and not shared.
Well, I think a book would be great.
Now,
Yeah.
Be a great seller here.
I think it would too, because it's fascinating. And I tell people, look, I'm not telling you whether to believe this. This is not a belief system.
right.
And I'm not here to proselytize, and I'm not here to. Well, do you believe in ghosts? Belief shouldn't be. Do I see things in the last 37 years and document them that there's no way that I can explain? Yes, and you draw your own conclusions. I'm not telling you I have an answer to that any more than anybody else.
Yeah.
But and that brings up an interesting point. I find it very offensive professionally doing documentaries and trying to be even-handed, or at least acknowledging that I have an axe to grind and saying, look, my premise is this is a wrong thing, and here's how I'm going to show you and demonstrate to you the evidence that will support my position that this is wrong. If you're trying to take an advocacy role in a documentary, if you're not, and you're trying to be even-handed and present information and let people draw their own conclusions, like they used to say on with Leonard Nimoy on his program, you draw your own conclusions. Well, I find it offensive when people use the term debunking, because that has the connotation that somebody's trying to pull the wool over your eyes, and you're going to straighten this guy out and prove a hoax. I think, and I've said to people, listen, here's an EVP. It doesn't sound to me like a hubcap fell off a car, and I'm trying to tell you that it's somebody reciting the Gettysburg Address. If I took this piece of audio and played it for somebody in the supermarket with no context around it, they would say, well, it sounds like a kid's voice saying, help me. Now, maybe that's your mind saying that, but under what contextual basis would somebody say that standing in the supermarket if you weren't talking about ghost hunters that was on last night? In the same vein, I've said to people, look, I've worked with some of the best audio engineers in the world, and I've played this stuff for them and say, listen, okay, I'm happy if you explain it. I'm not going to jump out a window. I'm not going to beat you up. I'm not going to discredit you. You explain how that got on there. How do we have the same type of evidence appearing on flash drives, solid state devices, that we had on microcassettes, which were tapes we were reorienting rust on a tape? I mean, how do you get the same evidence? How do you explain that? It's two different mechanisms by which it's recorded. And if you can explain it, go ahead and duplicate it. Have you ever seen a debunker say, oh, let me make... Now, I have done that actually in demonstrations with orbs. I think we have to be very careful with them. Take the spray bottle and shoot a digital camera, and you got more orbs than snowflakes on a
Sure.
winter's day.
Yeah.
Having said that, it's offensive to say debunking, because the assumption is either you're an idiot or you're trying to hoax everybody with everything you do, and that's not the case. But I think that if you can come up with an explanation, fine. That's one that we're not going to carry. And I think there are some that are marginal, and I think there's certainly people out there that are playing games. But, it's buyer beware, caveat emptor. I tell people, have an open mind, but have a skeptical mind, because none of this is going to fit into, you getting up in the morning, having coffee, and sitting in traffic. It doesn't relate to what we have to deal with every day. So It doesn't fit into our pattern of what we believe and what we were led to believe and what we were taught to believe. So, but I just the whole debunking thing is, people trying to take a shot at everybody who comes down the road. Not everybody has non-altruistic interest, and not everybody's into make a buck off of pulling the wool over somebody's eye. And that's very offensive to me.
That's true.
Have you ever seen that television show called Fact or Faked or something? I think it's on Syfy.
Yes, I have, and
that drives me crazy, that show, because they will try and recreate something, and if they're able to recreate it visually, they're like, well, we debunked that. I'm like, no, you didn't. You just proved you could recreate it. You don't know what the original was.
And that's another thing. Having worked in television for so many years, I explain to people, listen, there is one reason that show's on, and it's to generate income. And, it's been a mechanism to raise the level of awareness and interest, and that's fine. And I don't say that, you should discredit or discount everything that you see on there, but don't, it's I use the analogy, just don't think that because in 30 minutes, Norm Abrams rebuilds a guy's house that's fallen down on this old house that you can go out and do the same thing and 29 minutes later the paint's drying. It's not that way. It's usually freezing cold or 105 degrees and humid. You don't feel good. You're sitting in a dirty old place that's either crawling with mold or asbestos. And, it's like fishing in the middle of the night in a blizzard. A lot of times you don't catch fish, but it doesn't mean there aren't any in the river. So I think that people have to understand that watching it on television is not the sum total of what it's all about. And just like everything else, it's a stylized money-making operation, and that's not to be insulting to every show, because I think they have a lot of good on them in many cases.
That's true, and a lot of stuff that they do is to generate ratings, so they have to have that aspect.
I just wish they would say, well, we can't explain what the original was, but at least the possibility exists it was, but they would just declare something was debunked. I'm like, so to me that logic is, if you can recreate a Civil War reenactment, well, that proves that Civil War didn't happen. That's the logic they seem to be implying.
Well, and also there's really not a lot of background. What is the background of these folks making these pronouncements and declaring that it's? I mean, I've seen some pretty young people that probably don't have 30 years of experience making these pronouncements that, oh, this is fake or this is phony, on that show. And it doesn't mean they're not brilliant people and able to make that. I mean, any kind of intelligent person should be able to discern whether the evidence adds up. I mean, you could be on a jury for, a criminal complaint for murder on something. So I guess we trust people to do that, but I never see a whole lot about the background. I mean, there's not a whole lot of background in this field per se, but I think there's.
That's true. Yeah.
If you're gonna be analyzing audio, you should have a background in audio. If you're going to be analyzing video, and with all due respect, I don't know that there's anything wrong or they're not capable of it. I certainly don't see a career path or an educational path from working as plumbers to be experts in analyzing audio and video. I mean, I'm not saying that can't be, but, it just seems to me you'd want to get the best guy in the industry in audio and say, take a look at this trace on the scope, but, let's analyze it. There's people that do that for a living. They do it for the government, that do it in industry. That's how we raise the bar. Not making pronouncements that, it's nothing, it's something. Well, based on what? Try to back it up with something. And then intelligent people can sit and debate it intelligently with whatever evidence they have,
Now, have you got a few more minutes, Drew? We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and I still got a couple little questions I'd like to ask before you jump off.
Sure, if you could put up with me, I'll stay here.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Jeff, I think what we're going to do is let you take us out on a break, and it'll probably be about a 6 minute or so.
Cool. Okay, well, stay tuned as you're listening to The Paranormal View at para-x.com with Henry Foister, and tonight Craig Rupp with the Ghost Soldiers who are getting ready to investigate at the Red Mill Museum in Clinton, New Jersey, which will be viewable online at paraxvision.com/paraxvision2.html. So at least, when the musicians finally surrender the channel, anyway.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Paranormal View right here on the Para-X Radio Network. I want to thank you all for staying with us tonight, for being here. We got a couple more guests that we're going to also be bringing back. And I just got one more question here for Drew real quick. With the thing with the Revolutionary War, do you have artifacts there?
He just got his headphones on. Ask again, Henry.
With the Revolutionary War and everything, do you have artifacts there with stuff from that?
I'm not sure how extensive our collection is. I know we have some weapons. I know we have stuff that extends back to the very early 1800s. But to give you a list of what we have, I can't tell you off the top of my head. We know that, I'll give you some examples. I mean, there was certainly history around here for both the Revolution. Daniel Morgan, I believe I'm correct on this. Forgive me for not being absolutely sure, but was born and grew up and lived certainly in Glen Gardner, which is 2 miles up the road. So he is very local to this area. The Minutemen for this area met at Bunnell's Tavern, is between my house and here, for 5 minutes walk away from here. So there is truly a lot of history. If you go 3 miles away to the town of Highbridge, the Taylor Wharton facility, and the Union Forge, which my bluegrass band was named after, which is now underwater at Spruce Run Reservoir, produced munitions for the Revolutionary Army for Washington. Taylor Forge and Taylor Wharton Steel produced high-quality armaments from the Revolutionary War and every war subsequent to that, up and through, I believe, 1966 in Vietnam. And the history connected just to that factory, and in a very unique setting in geographically in Highbridge, is another area of amazing history. So, I mean, there's a lot of neat stuff that went on here with the Revolutionary War and beyond it. I mean,
just in that small area. Drew, we appreciate you being with us tonight. I understand we got a couple others that we want to try and get in here and talk with. So I'm going to let you run. Before you run, though, why don't you give your website address real quick?
Yes, it's theredmill.org. Theredmill.org. It's very simple to find on a search. And you can call us at any time at 908 area code. That's on Eastern time, 908-735-4101. 908-735-4101. And just let me say thank you very much. I thank the guys from ParaX Vision, from Dave and Scott. I thank Greg for this opportunity. You folks on the other end of this interview for taking the time to spend some time to learn about us and for doing your investigations. And it's greatly appreciated. It's a great help to us to have this exposure. And I'm very honored to be on the show. And I thank you for the time.
Well, you're very welcome.
Thank you. It's well worth learning.
Yes. So, Craig, who else do we have here?
We have Olivia, and she has a story to tell us that happened to her.
Okay. Welcome,
Go ahead,
Olivia.
And it's all yours.
Okay, well, I was here with Ghost Soldiers, and I was using the dowsing rods.
Uh-huh.
And I was asking the little girl questions, and you feel her pulling on them to make them cross and then open. And crossing means yes, and opening means no.
Uh-huh. And where was you at when you was doing this?
Where was I? Dad, where was I? I was in the general store.
In the general store? Is that a pretty neat place?
Yeah. It's like, I don't know how to explain this right now.
Well, is that your first time using the dowsing rods?
Yes, that was my first time. It was my first time ever being on like a ghost tour.
What did you think of it?
I thought it was pretty neat, like, because you could feel them and everything, but I was also kind of like scared because they're there.
A lot of people don't believe that they're
That's
there,
good.
but you can really tell. Yeah. So are you going to investigate with them tonight?
Yes, I am.
Are you excited?
I'm so excited now because I know that like the ghosts are there, and I'm like excited to talk to them again.
So how did you feel when the dowsing rods first started operating for you?
I was creeped out. Like, there's no other way to explain it for me. Like, it's so unique because I've never felt it before, and you just feel them pull. And you're not controlling it whatsoever.
That's true. That's true. That's a pretty neat thing. I was using them a couple months ago, and my first time. And it was pretty neat that they actually started operating and moving, and I'm just, I was in awe of it actually working for me.
Yeah.
So you going to use any other equipment tonight?
Hopefully I'll be able to. It's just up to them.
So what kind of other equipment are you looking to use?
We got it covered.
Anything really. Never done it, so.
Pat and Doug said they got her covered for tonight, so she's going to have fun.
You will if you're going out with Pat and Doug. Yeah.
Now, how old are you?
I'm 14.
She's 14. That's the youngest investigator, I think,
Yeah.
we've ever had yet. So
Yeah.
this is a first. This is good. She's
Oh.
learning young.
Awesome.
So isn't that cool?
Well, now,
Yeah.
since then, have you tried to investigate any other places?
No, I haven't.
Son, you think this place is really active.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So are you going back to the general store, or are you going to try and a couple of the other places?
We'll go to other places, but I kind of want to go back to the general store.
You better beat Craig there is all I can say.
Yeah.
That's one of the places he wants to go to.
Yeah, you're gonna have to race me there. I'm just saying.
Okay.
You got your sneakers on?
Oh.
Yeah, she got sneakers.
I got
on.
the sneakers.
Okay, we're good.
You're good to go then. So, yeah, that place really sounds with the history and everything. It would be a really neat place to be able to go to investigate. One of the things that I didn't get to ask Drew was what kind of prices do they have to investigate there, or is it just donations?
Hang on, Henry. I'll ask. What are the prices here to investigate, or is it donations? Bruce left.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They'd have to contact Bruce Pearson for that.
Okay. Yeah, they would have to contact Bruce for that information. He's not here right now.
Okay, no problem. They've already got the contact info, so they can do that.
Now, is this your mom?
Yeah, this is my mom.
Now we have Olivia's mom, Heather.
Yeah.
She has some stories or story to tell. So
Okay.
Thank you, Olivia.
thank you very much.
No problem.
And is this Heather?
Yes, hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Have you investigated there?
Yes, I actually came over the night with Olivia, and I was also on a previous ghost tour. They run, what do they call it, Rich? The one with the lady that does the guided.
Walking ghost tours.
It's a walking ghost tour.
Right.
And that evening proved to be quite active as well. And as Bruce said, you know, it's like fishing. Sometimes you hit it, and sometimes you don't. And I've been here twice, and I've been very fortunate to have seen, or not seen, I haven't seen anything, have had experienced a lot of activity. The first night that I was there with my husband Rich, it was very interesting. We actually had people lose their battery charges have their cameras not work when we went into the blacksmith shop. And then when we left, the cameras were working again. I found that to be very unusual. There is no electric wiring out there to be seen. No reason for anybody to lose use of a Canon camera, that's for sure. It was very, very interesting. We also had, this was amazing actually. We were in the mill, and we were up in the area where they had the display of the sewing room, and they had women's bonnets suspended from the ceiling on basically fishing line. Now there's about maybe 10 of us on the tour. And you're in a closed room. There's absolutely no breeze or wind or anything. And all of a sudden, the bonnets start moving. Now, it would be something that Bruce would love to say, or hate to hear the word debunk, that somebody could say there was a light breeze and that, all the bonnets started moving. Well, except for the fact that the bonnets were going in different directions. And when the ghost guide said, can you turn the bonnet halfway round and stop? And it did.
Wow.
Then it moved back around again. And I was standing within 7 inches of that bonnet.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Yes.
That was unbelievable to see. And I love to watch, actually. I love to watch Ghost Hunters when they had Paranormal State on. I used to watch that. And they would say sometimes, you feel you feel an energy, but you can't explain it.
Right.
Like somebody watching you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You could definitely feel an energy.
Wow.
Definitely. Now, Livy and I had an experience together the night that we were there at the schoolhouse. Livia was using the dowsing rods, and she was asking a series of questions, being coached through the ghost soldiers. And Livy was a little nervous. She's 14.
Right.
So we're standing arm in arm next to each other, and the dowsing rods are moving in the directions, answering the questions. And I'm telling you, it was as though somebody had an air conditioner on my elbow. My elbow felt like it was 50 degrees. And Livy and I could feel something between the two of us.
Wow.
And it was unexplainable.
See, those kinds of things or personal experiences, those are something that what you felt, but to try and get somebody else to believe it, that makes it kind of hard to do.
It does make it kind of hard to do. Only, thank goodness, there was a room full of people, and nobody else was feeling that kind of coldness. And the dowsing rods were moving back and forth. It was really unique.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think I'll give them the store and the school. I think we're in the bonnet room, Henry.
Oh, is that where you're going?
I think so now.
That was amazing. That was amazing. The bonnet room, that was amazing.
Well, did you get to investigate in all the different buildings?
Yes, actually, I've been in all the different buildings. And I believe the night when we were in the general store, that they had picked up an EVP with, I believe her name was Sila. Wasn't it Sila Van Camp? Sila was introduced to Olivia, and I don't remember the gentleman's name, but and then they, it was quiet. Obviously, it was quiet. Nobody heard anything, and then we took a break, kind of, and they played back the EVP recording device, and we definitely heard a noise that sounded like Olivia
calling the name.
And yeah, that Sila repeated Olivia's name.
Wow.
Henry, if you can see her smile right now, she's ready to go investigate right now. I think. So we have to cut this short.
Well, now, of the places that you went to, which one seemed to be the most active for you?
The general store of the Van Camp House and the Red Mill itself. And I would have to say where the blacksmith was, that was really very, very interesting in there too. You could actually smell the smells that you would, and I don't think it was just by power of suggestion that I could smell the smell of leather in that shop. There isn't anything that smells like leather in there. And I was standing next to my husband. I said, can you smell this? And Rich is looking at me like I have 6 heads.
I've seen that a time or two before. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So have you investigated other places other than the Red Mill?
No, actually, I've always found I said I like to watch the TV shows and everything, but I've never really taken an active role in looking for paranormal experiences.
Uh-huh.
But what I've encountered here is kind of unbelievable, and I would definitely go out and
it kind of gets in your blood, don't it?
investigate.
It kind of gets in your blood and makes you want to go out and actually look for more.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It really does. It raises a lot of questions, of, are these, are we knee deep in different spirits? Are we in different time continuums? Where are we?
That's questions that a lot of people wants to try and get answered. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, now, do you live close by there?
Yes, actually, my husband's on the board of trustees here, and that's how we actually kind of stumbled into coming here for a ghost tour. It wasn't that I was looking to go experience the paranormal. It's just that there happened to be a ghost tour here one night, and Bruce Pearson said, "Well, come on down. We're here." So I said, "All right, let's do this. Let's have some fun."
All right, which is a good thing. And
yes.
I take it that Olivia really enjoyed it also.
I think she really did.
Well, I hope you guys have a real great night tonight there also. With it raining and full moon, if any storm rolls in, it ought to really be ripe with energy there tonight.
I hope so.
How visible is the full moon if it's raining?
They just know that it's already full, but it's on the other side of the clouds.
Yeah, it's there. Believe me, I just walked outside and it was dark. It was totally different atmosphere. So I think we're all ready to go and have some fun.
I know Craig is. Craig's chomping at the bits.
Maybe.
Well, I want to thank all you guys for being on with us tonight, and I hope you guys really get a lot more evidence tonight. And never can tell. Have you ever been touched?
No, I've never been touched. The closest thing is just feeling that extreme coldness. But no, I've never been touched.
Well, that's another feeling altogether. Yeah, so hopefully you might get that experience also.
No, you never know.
Heather, we had a guest on a few weeks ago who was in the middle of an investigation. Her friends were behind her, and she felt something poking her in the back, and she thought that it was her friends behind her. She turned around. They were just too far away to have touched her, and they were just like ghastly white because they could actually see the fabric being indented where she was being poked.
That is amazing. And I've heard tales of that happening here at the mill because there is supposed to be a young girl about 5 years old that allegedly haunts the mill, and she likes to play pranks. And she has been known to. The mill is haunted for fun through the last 2 weeks of October as a fundraising event. And during the month of September and October, there's a lot of people that come here and work on the mill to get the props ready. And they've been poked by her. They've had their hair pulled by her. And none of these people are out on ghost tours. They just sit there and say, I was up on a ladder and somebody pulled my hair.
Well, you know what? That's when something usually happens when you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
That's true. So never can tell what might happen tonight. But I wish you guys good luck and hope you have a real great investigation.
Well, thank you.
And just in case, we do a podcast of this show, so it should be up later on tonight, and Craig can tell you where you can go to and listen to it tomorrow.
I sure will.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, Henry's real good about that, and Jeff also. He does a whole synopsis of the show. He types everything out. Great.
Really?
So yeah, I'll give you
Okay.
his website too. So.
Oh, fantastic.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I've never been on the radio before.
Well,
This is a
Well,
first. Every
well,
time I go to the
privilege
mill,
your
there's a
first
first.
well, this one goes out all around the world, so there'll be people listening from Finland and Australia and England and everywhere. So,
Well, I hope they find the mill somewhere along their travels.
oh yeah, I know
That's
Craig.
great, isn't
Craig
it?
has. So yeah, you guys.
Well, I was
have
going to say on the report page, I have pictures of the mill and links to the website and all that stuff as well.
Okay,
So definitely
great.
on Facebook, look up Paranormal View, and you can add Henry and Craig and me and Ray.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all on Facebook. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you for being on with us tonight. Appreciate it, and you guys have a great time investigating.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
All
Yes.
right.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you both.
All right.
Thanks.
Looking at anybody else? I got a lot of people looking at me, Henry. But you wanna finish up with Pat and Doug?
If they want to be on, I got just a few minutes. We'll let them throw their websites on. We'll give all ours out, and I have just a couple of minutes. So I think what I'll do is try and play one or two of those EVPs that they had sent us. So you guys want to try and do that?
Yeah, Henry, can you play some of those great EVPs I sent you?
Yeah. Let me get to them here, and we'll throw one or two of them up real quick. Like, let's see here. How about? Oops. Let's do the one we all are.
Oh, that's a great one, Henry.
Yeah,
What
that's-
happened was we were in the general store, and Bruce actually was asking the question, and he had talked to actually one of the members of the Van Camp family who actually lived in that. It was a tenant house first. The gentleman came back to see the place he had lived in, and he told Bruce, "Yeah, this place, it's been haunted." We all knew that. So this was about a week or two before we got here. So when we got here, Bruce basically says, "Are there any Van Camps here?" And the answer is very clear. It's whispery, but it's a very clear Class A. We all are. So
All
let's
right.
go ahead and play that one.
Put your headphones on, turn your sound up, because we're going to play this one. If I get it to come up.
Does anybody hear anything? Yeah.
It's right there.
Wow.
It's-
Even I heard that the first time.
It's right there at the end. We all are. So
That's a good one.
there must be a lot of them there. I'm going to go ahead and play it again so everybody will be able to listen to it. It goes by real quick.
Does anybody hear anything? Yeah.
We all are.
Yeah, how about that, huh? That's in the general store, which I know Craig is dying to get to later, but that is definitely one of my favorite places.
Now, you got this other one where it was the store walking. I listened to it ahead of time.
Yeah.
That thing walks around for almost a minute, seems like.
It's a long one, Henry. In fact, there are about 5 of those. That was the first one. And the interesting thing about it is Peg Leg Van Camp had a distinctive walk. It's not an even walk. It's a ka-dunk, that kind of thing.
Right.
And we had set up a camera. Doug had his camera in this store. I dropped an EVP recorder at the post office window, and Doug's camera actually verifies the fact he gets the same things. Now, the good thing is the stairway is blocked off by plywood. You cannot even walk down the steps, and you can clearly hear someone walking around above us when no one's in that building. The building's locked down. We have a camera and an EVP recorder. Then you hear them walk down the steps and walk across the room where the camera's at. So, yeah, that place is just crazy, Henry.
Okay, we're going to play this one here, and it is Peg Leg, I guess, walking around the store. And you can hear it very plain, so listen real close.
Yeah, that goes on forever, Henry. That's just great stuff because no one was in there. No one was in that store.
You just had the recorder in there by itself?
Just a recorder and a camera by itself. Store was locked down. We were all off the site. No one.
We were actually up here having pizza. believe it or
Yeah,
not.
we were all locked away in another building. So, like I said, that's only one part. He continues to walk around in there for a while and then comes down the steps. So,
Right.
great spot. Yeah.
Well, that you can definitely hear the peg leg on it, thump, thump, thump. So
You definitely can. Yes, sir.
that was really good. Unfortunately, our time is run right on down. I think what we'll do, though, is we're going to let you guys give out your website addresses. I'm going to have Jeff give his out. And someday when Craig gets one, we'll let him give his out.
That ain't gonna happen, Henry. I that's just too much. I'm too lazy to have a website. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, you can look up Craig Rupp on Facebook.
Yeah, he's got Paranormal View on Facebook, so that's good.
That's
enough.
right. That's
Yeah.
all I need.
So,
And Twitter. Follow me on Twitter.
oh, I don't twit.
I don't either, but it's there. Every once in a while, I put something on
When he
it.
remembers to go in.
Yeah.
I think his last posting was, "Can't find the giant red mill. GPS is out."
Why you gotta be like that, Pat?
That's the only way I know how to be, Craig.
We don't have Waffle Houses in New Jersey.
He's getting paid back at some point tonight. Henry. Trust me.
But yeah, Henry, if they want to check out our website, they can go to theghostsoldiers.com. We have links on there to ParaX Vision. They can watch our shows on demand by following the simple instructions, or check out some of the sites we visited, including some interesting stuff about vampires and other paranormal things. We're not just about ghosts. We're also interested in things like the Jersey Devil, and things like that. So yeah, I knew Jeff would like that.
Absolutely. Pine Barrens. Yay.
Actually, Jeff, I live in the Pine Barrens. Tom's River is only about a half a mile from the Pine Barrens.
Yeah, the place looks like it's post-apocalyptic. You know, like a nuclear bomb has been dropped there or something. It's all.
Actually, back in the 60s, they had a test of a nuclear bomb that went bad there, so.
Oh, great. That's why it looks so burned out and everything. Oh, man.
Well, I want to thank you guys for being on tonight. Our time is just about out. Jeff, why don't you real quick give out your website addresses?
Yeah, well, we're at jeffgould.net, GEOFF/2011PNV.htm is my Paranormal View section of my website. You can also find Paranormal View on Facebook really easily, and that should be for now. Yay.
Okay.
You always wait till the last 30 seconds. Okay, Jeff, you got about 17 URLs. Go for it.
It's like that guy who talks really fast, Jeff.
Oh, yeah. You can also go to theparanormalview.com. You can check out our recent podcasts from there. You can also, at the top of the page on the on-demand, check out the Paranormal View on-demand shows there. So please do that. Next week, I do want to remind everybody, we will be having Paul Hellyer, and he is the ex-Canadian defense minister, and he's going to be talking about UFOs, aliens, and the real truth. So join us next week for that show. You can also go to ParaX Vision, where they're going to be broadcasting the live investigation of the Red Mill, and I believe it starts somewhere around 10 o'clock. So until next week, I want to thank everybody for being here. No matter where you're listening from, you've been listening to the Paranormal View right here on the ParaX Radio Network, and we are jumping off. See everybody next week.
Night all.
Thank you all. Take care.
Bye, everybody. See you, Henry.
All right.
Bye, Henry.
Stay dry.
We're leaving. We're gone. Paranormal view. Come back and visit. visit us again if you dare.